Hello, this is Noreen Crone Findlay from Crone-Findlay.com and TottyTalksCrafts.com, and now a whole bunch of other places too, and I'll show you those links in a second. Today's tutorial is working with the Zoom Loom, and I want to show you how you can weave rectangles and narrow strips on your Zoom Loom so that you can weave all kinds of other shapes as well as the square, so that you can, if you want to have some 1" by 4" rectangles, or 2" or 3" by 4", now you can do it because I figured out how you can. So here we have all my other websites and links, and starting with my website is Crone-Findlay.com. Please skip on over there and purchase some things from my website or from my Etsy shop to help support me while I'm making all these wonderful video tutorials for you. My blog is TottyTalksCrafts.com. You already know the YouTube URL. And my Etsy shop is there, and you can follow me on Facebook, and that's a really good place to find out what I'm up to. That's probably the place where I'm most active. I also have a group on Ravelry too for my designs, but I just didn't have room on this piece of paper to put them all on there. So those are my URLs, and let's get weaving. So to weave a rectangle on your Zoom Loom, you need, of course, to have your Zoom Loom. You need scissors and the weaving needle and 2 little steel crochet hooks. Now I've altered one of the crochet hooks. I ground off the thumb rest on one of them because I found that the thumb rest, the wide part here, really gets in the way when I'm weaving with it on the Zoom Loom. And I quite like working with the little crochet hooks. I love the loop turning tools that I buy at the fabric store, but not everyone can find that, and I thought, well, everybody can find little steel crochet hooks, so I'm just going to work with those so that people can use those because they're widely available. So what we're going to do today in this tutorial is weave a rectangle on the Zoom Loom, because there are times when you want to be able to weave a rectangle, whether it's 1" by 4", or 2 by 4, or 3 by 4. This way, one loom is going to do all manner of wonderfulness for you. So today I want a rectangle that's about a little bit more than 1 inch, I would say, wide by the 4 inches long. So I am going to lay the weaving needle with the eye of the needle at the top, because what we're going to be doing is weaving a rectangle that is on all 4 sides. It's clean, finished, and complete. You won't have to chain along the edge or stitch along the edge afterwards. All 4 edges, when it comes off the loom, are going to be perfecto. So we're going to go and lay the eye of the needle in the gap between the second, no, let's try that again. What I'm trying to say to you is it's the second gap here that we're laying the eye of the needle in. That's 7 pegs, or 7 pins over. And to have 7 pins at this end, you need to have the needle laying between the first and second pins of the 3rd group. So we've got 7 pins down here too. We're going to start, I'm using Lion Brand bonbons, and we're going to use 2 strands of yarn to start with. If you only have 1 ball of yarn, you're going to want to rewind it into a double-ended ball, or else, you know, fish around inside the ball and pull out a second end. In this case, I'm going to start by using 2 little balls of yarn, and I'm going to pull out enough yarn to lay down between the at the bottom. It goes in the gap between the horizontal and vertical pins, and I want it long enough so it goes past the top of the loom by, oh gosh, okay, make this tail end here at least 6 or 7 inches long. Take both ends of the yarn through this gap between the top 2 pins, come down to the bottom, go back into the first gap, hold that down with your finger, go between the first and second pins, up around the third horizontal pin, and we're going to just keep going from the bottom to top, top to bottom, all the way across, so that we have loops on 7 pins at the top. Here we go, come between there, down to the lower edge, and up again. Here we go. So we've got our 7 loops at the top, and it's going to not go around the 7th pin on the lower edge. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take one of the balls of yarn, because I'm going to be working with a continuous loop now, so I don't want 2 strands of yarn, I just want one. So I'm going to snip one strand off and just put that away. Now I'm going to take the crochet hook that I'm not going to be weaving with, and it's going to become my shed stick. I'm going to go over the first 2 strands of yarn, under the next 2 strands of yarn. Then I'm going to lift up the loops on the next pin and go over, under. Then make sure I've got both strands here. I didn't, so I want to have both strands of yarn need to be engaged. Then I reach under and I push the other ones out of the way, and I go over, under, push these guys out of the way, over, under, over 2, under 2. And see, this is where my the thumb rest is getting in the way, so I've just hopped my crochet hook into the gap at the 1 pin down from the top. Okay, and I'm pushing the strands out of the way that I don't want to pick up, and then going under the ones I do. Then I come out over top of the needle, and I'm going to scoot that right across, and I'm going to push down on my threads. Okay, make sure my needle stays in place, and I'm going to make that horizontal so it's down 2 pins from the very top of that side. So now what I'm going to do is take my yarn end off my working ball of yarn and pull out a nice length of yarn, about a foot or so. Then I'm going to scoot my weaving hook, which is the one that I trimmed the thumb rest off of. I'm going to scoot it right along inside the shed that's formed by the first crochet hook, catch my yarn, pull it through, and then I'm going to scooch it right down to the bottom of the loom, and this strand of yarn off the ball, because I've pulled a loop through, it's now going around the 7th pin. Now I've got this long loop, and the reason why I have it so long is because I'm going to take it over the first pin on the right hand side, and I'm going to take my yarn ends from when I first, that tail from when I first started. It's going to go through the loop, then I will tighten my loop up around the first pin. Now I'm going to be working in the gap up at the top, because working close to the horizontal shed stick crochet hook is easiest, because I can see most quickly and clearly how to reach under the crochet hook and pick up the strands that are under the crochet hook, so that I am weaving my hook across and picking up my strands. Now this time I'm going, I went over the needle, the first row, but the second row I'm going to again pull up a nice long loop of yarn off of my hook, working ball of yarn. I'm going to catch that, not splitting it as much as possible, and I'm going to pull the loop through, and then I'm going to scooch it down to the bottom, place it on over the second pin and pull it out, and I'm going to now take the tail end through the loop by the pins, and that loop is placed on the second one, and I will now gently ease up my strand of yarn, and the needle is going to, it's acting like the left-hand side of the loom for us, and so that we aren't going to end up with an hourglass with it pulling in too tightly. Now I'm using the end of this hook, I'm squishing down with my index finger and beating that row in. And then again, I just reach in through the gap up here at the top. This row is pre-woven for me. I pull up a nice long loop, put the loop on my hook, take it down, place it on the next empty pin, pull my loops through, and close the gap and tighten up. Then I beat my row in. Oops, sorry. Hit the tripod here. So you can see, by having the crochet hook acting as a shed stick, it makes the weaving go so much more quickly. And also by working up close to the shed stick, it makes it very easy to pick up your stitches, your second shed. And so that little second crochet hook up there is your friend. So I scooch the yarn down, check and see which pin it goes on, take the strands through, and oops, you know what? I made a mistake. Oh, it's good when I make mistakes, because then I can say, I made a mistake, don't make that mistake. What I did was I forgot, with this row, I forgot to go under the needle. So just scooch the needle out, take the loop on the left hand side under, take the needle through the loop on the left hand side, which is the same as weaving under when you're actually forming the loop. But now that way you won't have your row pulling out on you. So pull up your row and don't pull it up too tight, just enough to give you a nice even weave. And so that's how you just keep working right up to the top. I'm going to go and I'm going to do a little edit in which I turn off the camera and weave my way to the top. Whoops, again, here's another mistake for you. I forgot to pull my ends through. Whoops. You want to pull your ends through because that's what's going to give you your finished edge. Remember to pull them through. Okay, and next time I'm going to be weaving under that needle. Okay, so I'm going to edit and then I will come back and at the top, so I show you how to finish off up at the top. So I was weaving merrily away and I went, oh my gosh, I can't just finish this. I have to stop and film the top part of weaving it because it's like, la la la, I go into this altered state. Oh, I'm so happy weaving away. But I realized I promised I was going to show how to get to the top here. So I am at the top and I have just a few more rows to weave, but now my my two hooks are kind of complaining about each other being in the same space. So I'm going to weave this row. Oh, come on, you little darling. Weave, weave, weave. And place the loop on the peg and pull the end through. And now I'm just going to release this little guy. I could use the second hook up here to pull the row through, but that particular hook has got a teensy little hook on the end that will actually split my yarn. So I should change over to one that's the same size and use that to just weave that row, and kind of would be a bonus. So what I'm going to do is finish weaving the, whoops, and I forgot to go under, so I need to go under that needle and pull the row through. This will be the last pin on the second last pin on the uprights. It's the last pin, like before the corner pin, and so I'm going to just weave this row with my hook, and it starts to get really kind of dodgy there at the end. And I do find the shimmery bonbons are very, they do tend to be kind of splitty at times. So you kind of have to go slow and mumble and fumble your way through it. Okay, and pull my ends through. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip the yarn from the ball. There's my ball, the working end. I'm going to snip this, and I'm going to push my my needle far enough out, and I want to show you a tip about threading your needle. Always when you're threading your needle, the easiest way to thread it is to fold your yarn over the needle and then push the fold through the eye of the... Oh, I have a choking dog in the background. One of our chihuahuas always gets the splutters. And then pull that, the needle comes down through all the strands, drawing the yarn through, and that edge is now clean finished. And now that the weaving needle is free, I am going to weave the very last row at the upper edge under, over, under, over. And I can actually lift these loops off as I go. Under, over, under, over, and lift off, under, over, and lift off, under, over, lift off, under, over, lift off. Now I can lift the entire rectangle off the loom, push the needle through to the end. Again, take my ends, fold them over the needle, push the loop through, and pull the yarn ends through the upper row, and voila! We have now got a perfect rectangle woven on the Zoom Loom. So there you have it. You can weave a 1 inch, or you can weave any width that you want on your Zoom Loom right up to your 4-inch square. So if you have a piece that you're working on that you need to have some rectangles or narrow strips, now you can do it. So happy weaving, and I will of course have more video tutorials for you. So go gently, go happily, and weave merrily.